Captain Mira Reyes stepped through the towering archway and into the grand throne chamber. Her boots echoed on the polished obsidian floor. All around her, walls of living crystal glowed with shifting colors, casting strange patterns of light. A hush fell over the alien courtiers gathered in concentric rows. Each being stood perfectly still, their curious eyes fixed on her. Mira's heart pounded, but she kept her posture straight. She had been trained for first contact with alien species, but nothing in her training could prepare her for this. At the far end of the chamber, on a dais of black stone, sat the alien queen. Vrythala's form was tall and elegant, her skin the pale green of new leaves. Her head was crowned with delicate spines that shimmered like opal. Hundreds of tiny lights flickered inside her translucent carapace, pulsing softly with each breath. Her eyes, large, multifaceted, and deep violet, glowed with urgent intensity. When she spoke, her voice filled the chamber like a chorus of whispers. "Give me your blood, human," Vrythala commanded. The words echoed in Mira's mind, as if spoken by 1,000 voices at once. The courtiers shifted, but they made no move toward her. They watched in complete silence. Mira swallowed hard. She raised a hand to signal her own escort, but the alien guards did not move. Fear and curiosity warred in her mind. Why would this queen demand blood instead of using her power to break her? A low hum began to fill the room. Mira looked around and saw thin threads of light stretching from the walls to the dais. Vrythala's hands rose and the threads converged into a gentle wave of energy. The light wrapped around the queen like a living cloak. Despite the power on display, Mira sensed no threat. Instead, there was a kind of sorrow in Vrythala's gaze. Mira's fear trembled into confusion. She thought of her orders: defend humanity at all costs. And yet here stood an alien sovereign, not as conqueror but as supplicant. The chamber's silence felt heavy. Mira's thoughts drifted to Earth, endless blue oceans, towering cities, her family waiting for news. What if this queen's crisis threatened them all? But the queen's sorrow seemed real, not the play of a warmonger. Mira took a careful step forward, forcing herself to speak. "Your Majesty, I need to understand why you ask for my blood." Her voice sounded small in the vast room. Vrythala's eyes softened. "Human envoy," she said, her voice gentle now. "My people face a curse. An illness grows in our veins. It steals our compassion, our empathy. Soon, we will lose all feeling, but hunger for power." She paused as if feeling the weight of her words. The courtiers behind her bowed slightly, their faces hidden behind masks of sculpted metal. "We have searched the stars for a cure. Only Earth's blood holds the key to our salvation. Your blood carries a molecule our science cannot replicate. I ask for it freely with respect for life." Mira's mind raced. Science fiction had prepared her for stories of alien diseases, but never had she witnessed one. She thought of her own blood, a red ocean of iron and life. The idea of giving it to save an entire species both terrified and moved her. She glanced at the silent courtiers. They waited, not with weapons drawn, but with hope. Her military training tugged at her. Was this an ambush? A trick? She scanned the chamber for hidden dangers. Nothing attacked. The queen's sincerity felt real. Slowly, Mira lowered her guard. She looked into Vrythala's eyes again. In those violet depths, she saw exhaustion, bravery, and a plea that was older than war itself. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of light threads filled the space. Then Mira spoke, her voice firmer. "I will listen. Explain the illness and why only my blood can heal you." She took another step forward, closing the distance to the dais. Vrythala inclined her head in gratitude. The light threads pulsed brighter, illuminating the intricate carvings on the stone dais. Strange symbols told a story of a once great civilization, brought low by an unseen foe. Mira realized she stood at the edge of a story far larger than any war protocol. Here was a chance to shape the destiny of two species, one teetering on the brink of despair, the other armed with the promise of hope. As the queen began to speak, The chamber lights dimmed and a central crystal awakened. It projected a pale blue hologram into the air, the outline of a living being, half insect, half plant. Tentacles writhed around its shoulders. Underneath, a series of charts and codes scrolled upward like falling water. Vrithala's voice narrated the images, her people's cells mutating, losing the capacity to feel joy or pain. Soon they would become monsters without soul or conscience. Mira watched the hologram with growing sympathy. She could see, in ways her own scientists could never capture, the real horror of the alien plague. Thousands of lives, each unique and precious, drained of color and warmth. A quiet resolve settled in her chest. She knew that her choice here would change everything. To refuse could mean doom for another world. To agree might risk Earth's safety. The weight of command settled on her shoulders. The projection faded. The Queen's hands reached down, palms open. "Human envoy," she said, "if you give your blood willingly, you will save my people. No harm will come to you. Our healers will take only what is needed, and you will remain whole. I offer you peace and alliance in return." The courtiers straightened, their masks reflecting the last glow of the crystals. Among them stood medics in long robes, their instruments glowing softly. Mira inhaled deeply. She felt the cool air of the chamber on her face, the distant murmur of threads, the silent gaze of thousands. In that moment, she made her decision. With a steady voice, she replied, "I will give my blood for the sake of your people. But know this, humanity will remember your act of trust. We will stand by you." Relief and hope sparkled in Vrithala's eyes. The courtiers bowed in unison. For the first time in centuries, the alien queen smiled, and with that small gesture, two worlds took their first step toward a new future. The chamber's air shimmered with quiet energy, as the living crystal walls pulsed in time with Captain Mira Reyes's racing heart. She remained kneeling before the dais, her offer of blood hanging in the charged silence. Above her, Queen Vrithala stepped down from the black stone throne and moved closer, her long, elegant form gleaming under the pale lights. The queen's spines quivered gently, as though she were breathing through every fiber of her being. "Rise, Captain," Vrithala said, voice softer now like wind stirring leaves. Mira stood uncertain, but the queen's eyes offered comfort rather than command. Around them, the fleet of masked courtiers and healers receded into the shadows, giving the two leaders space to speak privately. A low hum of machinery, alive, unthreatening, echoed from deep within the walls. Once they were alone, Vrithala gestured toward a side door carved with looping runes. "Come," she invited. "I will show you what ails my people." With cautious steps, Mira followed. They passed beneath a stone arch etched with countless faint scars, battle marks or perhaps ritual symbols. Beyond the door lay a long corridor lit by bioluminescent plants whose pale blue vines curled along the walls. At the corridor's end, they entered a vast chamber filled with humming vats of glowing liquid. Strange tendrils floated within each container, drifting like jellyfish in a coral sea. The air smelled of wildflowers and something more metallic, like the scent of a storm. Along the chamber's far wall, rows of suspended pods held figures swathed in translucent cocoons. "These are our afflicted," Vrithala explained, her hand sweeping across the pods. "They arrived here healthy once, full of curiosity and kindness, but now—" Her voice trailed off as she pointed to a pod nearest them. Inside floated a creature of tall, slender build, its forearms curled protectively around its chest. Vrithala touched the pod's surface and the liquid rippled, waves of violet light dancing across the chamber. Mira leaned closer. Through the liquid's sheen, she saw the alien's face change. What once had been gentle, large eyes now flickered, with a distant hardness. Where soft curves of flesh belonged, jagged edges had begun to form. The creature's breathing was labored, a slow pain that made its tentacle-like hair sway in distress. Mira felt her throat tighten. "What happened to them?" she whispered. "The illness," Vrithala said. voice heavy. It came from within, a genetic flaw deep in our DNA. It spread silently, corrupting the mind and body until all that remains is a hunger for power and destruction. She turned, clenched spines quivering. Within weeks, the afflicted lose all capacity for empathy. They become monsters who cannot feel friendship, love, or mercy. Mira swallowed, staring at the alien in the pod. Is there no cure? No way to halt it? Vritala's eyes glowed with bitter sorrow. Our scholars sought solutions in technology, nanobots, gene therapies, but nothing worked. The flaw is ancient, woven into the very roots of our lineage. We began to die by the thousands. Her voice shook. I watched my closest advisors turn on each other. Generals who once led with honor fell into madness. I had to lock them away to protect the rest of my people. A soft beep echoed through the chamber as a healer approached, carrying a slender vial filled with human red liquid. The healer bowed and placed it on a crystalline pedestal. Vrithala gestured for Mira to come forward. This, she said, voice trembling, is a sample from your world's blood. Our tests show it contains a protein, call it hemic reserve, that stabilizes our cells and restores empathy. She looked up at Mira, hope and desperation mingling in her gaze. But we need more than a sample. We need you. Mira's mind whirled. She remembered family dinners, laughter, tears, all the small moments her own blood had carried within. To think that same life force could heal an entire alien race filled her with awe. Yet the risks were real. Had she consented too quickly? What if the Queen's scientists had lied? What if the ritual harmed her? Her hesitation showed in her eyes. Vrithala stepped closer, lowering her voice. I would not risk deception, Captain. My people value honor above victory. We are proud, but not foolish. If your blood could harm us, we would never ask. She placed a gentle hand on Mira's shoulder. The Queen's touch was cool, almost like polished jade, but alive with warmth. I offer you the truth. At that moment, the vats behind them pulsed brighter. The tendrils within stirred as though in response to Vrithala's words. A soft chorus of voices, telepathic, trembling, swept through the chamber. Mira felt a gentle tide of emotion wash over her. Sorrow, fear, longing. It was not one mind, but many speaking at once. She glimpsed their memories, gardens of floating flowers, laughter under twin moons, families sharing stories near warm hearths. Then she saw the darkness creeping in, betrayal, violence, the final moment when a friend turned on a friend. The vision ended as suddenly as it came. Mira gasped, stumbling back. Their voices, I felt them. Vrithala's eyes glowed brighter. Yes, our telepaths share their pain with me. I carry the weight of every lost soul in our species. She drew a shuddering breath. That is why I beg you. Help us heal before we lose ourselves completely. Mira steadied herself, turning away from the pods. She pictured Earth, its blue sky, green fields, brimming oceans. She remembered her first mission logs before the Queen's plea. Every order she ever followed, every battle she prepared for, seemed distant now. Before her stood a chance to save a world, not just her own. She took a steadying breath and faced Vrithala. Tell me what you need from me, she said, voice calm but resolute. Relief flooded the Queen's expression and her spines fluttered like trembling wings. She led Mira to the crystalline pedestal. The vial of red liquid glowed softly, illuminating both their faces. You will undergo the offering, Vrithala instructed, her tone gentle but firm. Our healers will draw only a small amount of your blood, enough to sequence your hemic reserve and develop a universal serum. You will feel no lasting harm? Mira nodded. Fear still lingered in her chest, but it was tempered by understanding. She had seen the plague's devastation. She had felt the sorrow of a people on the brink. To refuse now would be to turn away from life itself. I understand, she said. Let us begin. Vrithala inclined her head in gratitude. The healer retrieved a sleek instrument from a satchel of glowing tools. Its tip glowed with soft light, designed to pierce skin with no pain and seal instantly after drawing blood. Around them, the vats and pods hummed their sorrowful song. As the healer approached Mira's arm, the captain squared her shoulders. She would give this gift of life, not as a captive or a soldier, but as a savior. In that moment, amid alien, sorrow and hope, two worlds would forever be bound by blood and trust. And with that bond, a new chapter of interstellar history began. Captain Mira Reyes stood in the heart of a circular chamber, its walls alive with bioluminescent vines that curled like gentle serpents. The air smelled faintly of sweet resin and fresh rain. At the center lay a raised platform of smooth, pale stone. Around its edge, delicate runes glowed with soft light, tracing an unbroken circle. The chamber was silent except for the gentle hum of energy flowing through the walls. Queen Vrithala glided forward, her spines quivering like wings in a soft breeze. She wore a ceremonial robe woven from living fibers that shifted color with each of her breaths. "This is the chamber of offering," she explained. "Here life gifts are given freely. Here we honor those who aid us." Her voice echoed lightly, full of reverence. She gestured to the platform. "Please, step forward." Mira nodded and ascended the 3 shallow steps. Her heart beat in her ears. She recalled every briefing, protocols for first contact, rules of engagement, how to defend Earth from hostile forces. None spoke of sacred ceremonies or pleas for help. But standing before this gentle queen, she felt the weight of a new responsibility. She would give her blood not as tribute, but as a pledge of trust. At each point around the platform, healers gathered. They wore simple robes of soft green, their hands long and elegant. Their faces were hidden behind semi-transparent masks shaped like leaves. In their hands, they held instruments of strange beauty, crystalline needles that glowed with inner light and small chalices carved from living wood. Each tool seemed alive, pulsing softly in rhythm with the vines on the walls. One healer, taller and more slender than the rest, approached Mira with a quiet bow. Vrithala touched the healer's shoulder and whispered. The healer produced a circular band of living material. It was smooth, cool, and alive, like a petal folded over itself. Gently, the healer wrapped the band around Mira's upper arm. Mira felt a tickle, then a firm but painless pressure. The band tightened just enough to draw her pulse into clear view. Vrithala spoke again. "The band will guide our instruments to your hemic reserve. You will feel a brief sting, but no lasting harm. When we are done, the bond will seal, and you will be whole." She offered her own hand. Mira took it, surprised by how soft and warm it felt. In that touch, she sensed all the queen's gratitude and hope. Her own fear wilted under that gentle power. The lead healer raised a crystalline needle. Its tip glowed like a morning star. The queen nodded, and the healer placed the needle gently against Mira's skin. The sharp tip pierced with no pain, only a cool whisper. Mira exhaled in relief. A thin stream of deep red blood welled up, caught in a small golden cup held by another healer. The light from the needle danced across the droplet like a tiny sun. Mira closed her eyes. She thought of Earth's rivers, red soil, the life that flowed through her own veins. Each drop carried memories of laughter, tears, hope, and tears again. She felt a quiet pride that her blood could mean healing for another world. The small cup filled, then a second until the queen's healers had all they needed. Mira opened her eyes to see the chalices glowing softly with her life gift. The healers retreated. In the center of the platform, they placed the cups on a carved pedestal. Vrithala moved to stand beside it. She lifted the chalices and poured the blood into a hollow crystal bowl. The liquid shimmered as it joined with pale blue solution already within. The two substances swirled together, shifting from red to violet to shining white. Light spilled from the bowl, washing over the chamber. "Now begins the transformation," Vrithala announced. She raised her hands, and the runes around the platform blazed bright. A gentle wave of light passed from the bowl into the stone floor, then up through the vines on the walls. The entire chamber pulsed in response, as though breathing in time with the ritual. Mira felt a warmth spread through her body, though she knew it came from outside her frame. Across the chamber, the healer who guided her pulse spoke in soft tones. "Stand tall, Captain Reyes. Feel the bond of life. Know that you are honored among us." Mira lifted her chin. She felt bravery rise inside her. In that moment, she was not an envoy or a soldier. She was a bridge between worlds, a bearer of hope. The crystal bowl's glow began to fade. The solution settled into a steady white light. The runes dimmed, and the vines relaxed their glow. Vrithala approached the pedestal and dipped her clawed finger into the liquid. She touched her wrist, then her temple, as though baptizing herself. Where her skin met the cure, the pale green deepened into vibrant emerald. The queen's eyes shone bright. A clear breath rang out from her lips, as if she had tasted fresh air for the first time. Mira watched in awe. Around her the healers bowed, their work complete. One among them tapped a slender wand against the pedestal. The bowl separated into two halves, closing like the petals of a flower. The cures were sealed away until they could be replicated, for all afflicted subjects. The chamber was still. Not a single living thing stirred except for the two leaders. Queen Vrithala knelt before Mira, placing one hand over the captain's heart. "Your gift has saved us," the queen whispered. "You carry our eternal thanks." The queen's spines quivered, and a soft melody rose in Mira's mind, words of gratitude woven into song. Mira felt tears well. She bowed her head in humility, her body trembling with joy and relief. Vrithala stood and offered Mira a simple crown of woven vines. "Please accept this as a symbol of our bond," the queen said. The crown was soft, alive with slow pulses of light. When Mira placed it on her head, she felt a warm calm wash over her. She was changed, too, marked forever by this sacred act. Outside the chamber, the court erupted in quiet applause. The noise was gentle, respectful, like wind through reeds. The courtiers parted to give Mira and Vrithala space. Together, they walked back through the corridor of glowing vines. Each step echoed with new promise. Behind them, the afflicted pods glowed softly, hope shining within. As they emerged into the throne hall, sunlight streamed through crystalline windows. Mira breathed deeply, tasting the clean air. She turned to Vrithala, who offered a small smile. "Because of you, my people will live with compassion again," the queen said. "And because of you, two worlds will stand together." Mira held the queen's gaze. She felt honored, proud, and ready for whatever came next. The ritual of offering was complete. A cure was born in blood and light, and as the doors of the hall opened onto a new dawn, both human and alien hearts beat as one. The dawn light filtered through the crystal windows of the healing wing, casting rainbow patterns on the pale floor. Captain Mira Reyes stood beside the central vat, her hands folded calmly. Before her, Queen Vrithala rested on a raised dais, the pale liquid from the ritual of offering still swirling around her legs. The cure, born of human blood and alien science, had settled into a soft white glow. Healers in green robes moved quietly around the chamber, checking gauges and monitoring the vat's energy. Their leaf-shaped masks hid their expressions, but their careful movement spoke of hope and relief. Vrithala lay with her eyes closed, the gem-like cords along her spine pulsing in gentle waves. Mira's heart ached with anticipation. This moment would prove whether Earth's gift could truly save another world. A senior healer, tall and graceful, approached Mira and dipped a slender probe into the glowing liquid. On a nearby hollow screen, a cascade of symbols and charts flickered into view. The healer tapped a rune on the screen. "Queen's vital signs are stable," she reported in soft tones. "Neural empathy centers are reactivating. Cellular integrity is improving at expected rates." Mira inclined her head. How soon before we can confirm a full recovery? The healer studied the charts. In 48 standard hours, we will have a clear picture. The cure must integrate fully with her neural pathways. After that, we can adapt the formula for others. She paused, then added, but early indicators are promising. Vrithala stirred, her translucent eyelids sliding open. The queen's violet eyes shone with renewed clarity. She rose to a sitting position, the liquid draining away as it returned to the vat. Her skin, once a faded green, now glowed with vibrant health. She stepped down from the dais, her robes flowing like living water. Mira stepped forward and bowed. Vrithala offered her a gentle nod. Captain Reyes, the queen said, voice steady and warm, I feel alive again. I see colors I had forgotten. I can feel forgiveness, joy, and love. Your blood has restored more than my body. You have given me back my soul. Tears pricked at Mira's eyes. I am honored, Your Majesty. Behind them, the healers prepared fresh vials of the cure. One gathered a small vial and brought it to Mira. A single sample for adaptation, the healer explained. Your blood sequence is complete. Our scientists will use this to create a universal serum. Mira took the vial, its surface cool and smooth. She felt the weight of responsibility in her fingers. This small drop of liquid would become the hope for an entire civilization. Vrithala beckoned Mira to follow her down a gently sloping corridor. The queen's steps were light, each footfall echoing softly on the polished floor. Come, she said. There is another who awaits your gift. They arrived at the quarantine ward, a broad chamber lined with clear pods. Inside each, an afflicted alien floated motionless in pale liquid. Their forms twisted with spikes and jagged growths, shells of the beings they once were. These creatures had been leaders, artists, scholars, and friends. Now they hovered in frozen agony. Mira's chest tightened at the sight. She placed a comforting hand on Vrithala's arm. The queen's eyes filled with sorrow but also with fierce hope. They wait for the cure, Vrithala whispered. Once their fear and pain are gone, they will remember who they were. A healer unsealed the first pod. The liquid drained away, revealing a tall figure with 6 arms folded across its chest. Its skin was dull and cracked. The creature's eyes fluttered open, but its gaze was flat. The healers guided the alien to a reclining platform. They administered the adapted serum into its veins through a slender injector. Mira watched as the liquid spread, glowing softly beneath the alien's cracked skin. At first, nothing seemed to change. The room held its breath. Then slowly, the creature's chest rose with a deeper breath. Its arms unclenched and its head tilted to one side as if testing new sensations. A soft gasp escaped the alien's lips. Its eyes cleared, focusing on Vrithala and then on Mira. Recognition bloomed in its gaze, followed by overwhelming relief. Tears, clear as water, ran down its cheeks. The alien reached out a trembling hand toward Mira. Mira knelt beside the platform. You're safe now, she whispered. You have life again. The alien's voice was hoarse but joyful. Thank you, it said. I remember love. Across the ward, other pods opened one by one, and the same miracle unfolded. Each alien received the serum, each grew whole again. Laughter and tears filled the chamber. Centuries of fear and sorrow were swept away in a tide of joy. By nightfall, every afflicted being had walked free of their pod. The ward's walls glowed with quiet celebration as the freed citizens embraced one another. Vrithala moved among them, her hands resting on shoulders, her eyes bright with tears. Mira stood in a corner, watching the reunion. She felt a warm glow of pride. Never had she seen such a transformation, not on any battlefield, not in any scientific lab. Here was true victory, the restoration of life and love. One freed alien approached Mira. It placed a delicate hand on her arm and bowed. Captain Reyes of Earth, it said, voice soft, you have saved us all. We are forever in your debt. Mira offered a gentle smile. "We are friends now," she said. "Your fate is part of ours." As the celebration continued, Mira and Vrithala slipped away to a private balcony overlooking the healing gardens. Bioluminescent flowers floated in gentle pools, their glow mingling with the stars overhead. Vrithala turned to Mira, her violet eyes shining. "Your people risked much to give us this cure," she said. "We will honor that gift. We will share our knowledge of healing, of empathy with Earth. Together we will protect both our worlds." Mira felt hope blossom in her chest. She looked out at the gardens, the freed citizens celebrating below, and the twin moons rising in the sky. "I believe we will," she said. "This is only the beginning." In that moment, two civilizations stood united by blood and trust, ready to face a brighter future together. And as the stars shone above, Captain Reyes and Queen Vrithala knew that the cure they had forged would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. 2 weeks after the cure reached every afflicted citizen, the planet's capital buzzed with renewed life. Streets that once lay empty now thrummed with markets and laughter. Crystalline fountains gushed clear water, and gardens bloomed in soft pastels beneath the twin moons. Alien families walked hand in hand, trading stories of loss and relief. In the heart of the city, the new Alliance Plaza stood ready to host a historic ceremony. Captain Mira Reyes arrived at the plaza just before dawn. She wore her formal white uniform, its silver trim reflecting the glow of the rising suns. Around her, human diplomats and scientists mingled with alien ambassadors and scholars. Everywhere there was an air of excitement and cautious hope. Flags of Earth and the alien realm, interwoven in a pattern of emerald and sapphire, flapped gently in a soft breeze. At the center of the plaza rose a tall dais carved from pale stone. Behind it soared a living arch of bioluminescent vines that curled into the shape of two clasped hands. On either side, rows of seats curved around the dais. On the left, human guests. On the right, alien dignitaries. Queen Vrithala appeared at the summit of a short stairway, her ceremonial robes of shifting green and gold flowing behind her. She carried herself with calm dignity, though her violet eyes glowed with unshed emotion. Mira approached the dais just as the plaza lights dimmed and a hush fell over the crowd. Vrithala raised a slender hand. A soft hum of living crystal filled the air, and the arch glowed brighter. Then, as if breathed into life, the entwined hands shimmered with prismatic light, symbolizing the bond between two peoples. Queen Vrithala spoke first, her voice carrying clearly across the plaza. "Today, we celebrate more than a cure. We celebrate compassion, the choice to give life rather than take it. Earth's gift has healed our bodies, and now our souls stand, restored." She paused to let her words sink in. "In gratitude, the Althari people offer knowledge of our healing arts, so that no plague may ever claim so many again." A murmur of approval rose from the alien side. Mirrors of emotion swept through the human guests as they listened. When Vrithala finished, Miranda Reyes, now granted the honorary title Friend of the Althari, rose to speak. Her own voice was steady, filled with warmth. "Queen Vrithala, honored guests, citizens of Earth and Altharia," Mira began. "We came to your world as strangers. We leave as partners. Your courage, your honesty, and your hope have inspired us all. In return, Earth extends an open hand of friendship. We offer our shipyards, our scientists, and our hearts. May this alliance bring peace and progress across the stars." The plaza lights brightened as the two leaders stepped forward and signed the Treaty of Renewal on a living parchment, a thin leaf of crystal that pulsed gently beneath their pens. The treaty's words appeared in both human script and Althari glyphs. "Here we bind our worlds in trust, unity, and shared destiny." When the final word took shape, the crystal leaf glowed with steady white light, then split into two identical copies, one for each world. As the sun rose fully, a choir of mixed voices began to sing. Humans and aliens joined in a song of unity. voices weaving together in a melody that spoke of healing, new life, and friendship. Mira felt tears sting her eyes as she looked at Vrythala, whose spines fluttered like wings in a gentle breeze. After the ceremony, small clusters formed around the plaza's edge. Scientists from both worlds gathered by a display of joint research projects, floating drones that could map healing vines, medical scanners that merged human and alien technology, and small devices that could channel empathic energy to calm the gravest of fevers. Engineers discussed starship designs that used Althari biocrystals for energy and Earth's advanced shielding for safety. Everywhere ideas passed freely between curious minds. Mira walked among the groups, listening and smiling. She paused by a circle of young Althari children who examined a human tablet device with wide eyes. A tiny Althari boy touched the smooth screen and giggled as holographic images danced in front of him. Mira knelt and explained how the images worked, and soon the children were tapping and laughing, bridging species by simple curiosity. Later, as the sun set in stripes of orange and violet, Vrythala invited Mira to dine at the palace's open-air veranda. A long table groaned under dishes of alien fruits that glowed softly and bread baked with Earth's flour. They ate side by side, speaking in quiet tones about the days to come. Vrythala shared plans to open a healing academy where Earth medics could train Althari healers in advanced surgery, and vice versa. Mira described Earth's desire to learn empathy techniques from the Althari telepaths who had first revealed their pain to her. Under the starlit sky, the two leaders found in each other's eyes a true partnership. They spoke of challenges ahead, rifts still to heal on both worlds, distrust to overcome, the long journey of weaving two societies into one tapestry. But they also spoke of hope, of children who would grow up knowing both Earth's blue skies and Altharia's twin moons, of scientists who would learn from both biology and empathic flow, of travelers who would chart new paths guided by trust instead of conquest. At last, Mira rose to leave. She felt a tug in her chest. The time to return to Earth was near. Vrythala stood with her at the veranda's edge, looking out at the luminous gardens below. The air shimmered with bioluminescent pollen drifting on a warm breeze. Fireflies of living light danced among the petals. "Captain Reyes," Vrythala said softly, "you have given us more than life. You have given us hope. Your world will always have allies here." Mira placed a hand over her heart. "And you have given humanity a new beginning. We will carry your story among the stars." They embraced, a gesture of trust that echoed through two ancient lineages. Then Mira turned and walked down the marble path, each step bringing her closer to the waiting shuttle at the edge of the palace grounds. At the landing pad, her ship's engines glowed with readiness. Crew members waited to board, their faces alight with excitement at the mission's success. Mira paused at the airlock and looked back at the silhouette of Queen Vrythala beneath the palace's spired towers. "Until we meet again," Mira called. "Until then," Vrythala replied. With a final wave, Mira stepped inside. The hatch closed with a soft hiss. As the engines hummed to life, the shuttle lifted into the sky, rising above the glowing gardens and the jubilant crowds. Through the viewport, Mira watched the city shrink beneath her, a mosaic of light and color born anew. Above her, the stars gleamed with promise. Beneath her, two worlds spun together in friendship, and ahead of her lay the long road home, one she would follow with joy, knowing that Earth and Altharia stood united, their futures intertwined by the simplest and most profound of gifts, the gift of life shared in trust.